facts say again, Adrian?
Welcome to In the Library with
Marsha
and Adrian. And today we have with us special guest
Shane Emery.
Hey, welcome, Shane. Woo, woo.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Marsha's been bugging me for not too long, but for long enough that I finally gave in and made some time to sit down and talk with you.
I appreciate that. In between your classes and your busy schedule, I probably have been bugging you a little bit, but I'm excited to have you for a lot of reasons. You were formerly an employee at the Monroe County Library System and aren't anymore, sadly. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your library history and you in general? Who are you? Who is Shane Emery?
Well, I printed off my resume to read off to you, but I didn't actually do that.
Funny, I was like, let's hear all the stuff you've done.
It's for the best because we require a CV, actually.
Oh, goodness. Can I forward it to you after the fact? But I guess to start, I worked at the library for probably like 5 years ago. So it's been a while since I've worked at the library. I was a circulation clerk, ran some programs, including Fandom Friday. And I know I capitalized on the Pokemon Go craze for a little while and did a little bit of programming with that. And then, sadly, after I got my teaching degree, I decided to go put it to use and moved just right next door from the Bedford Library to Bedford Public Schools. Taught there for a few years, mostly high school English, 10th grade, 9th grade, 8th grade for a little while, and ran programs. I was the assistant director of the theater program, ran the GSA. I was department chair for a brief little while for the English department. And then I had an opportunity to come teach at the early college program at Eastern Michigan University. So that is where I am at now. And I'm speaking to you from my office there. I think that's the basic summary.
In a nutshell, I will say for me, it was really great to sort of watch you grow. You didn't say you worked at Kroger first. That's kind of where I first remember you from, the Kroger in Dundee when I was at the Dundee Library. But having you join the staff was wonderful. You were such a pleasure to work with, such a great addition. I also, for me, secretly, I kind of loved how I always forced all of those teachers and classes on you as a circulation clerk, which I don't know that you loved. But then when you turned around and became a teacher, I felt for me that came full circle. When you brought your students back over, that made me so happy. I'm like, now you're on the other end of it. So for me, I really enjoyed that part of it too.
Yeah, with the library, I often think of the phrase like longest way round is the shortest way home. Like I feel like I keep circling back to the library in a lot of ways. And just from teaching or maintaining my connection with you or other staff, and just kind of I keep coming back. I can't seem to escape, nor do I really want to.
I love that too. Yeah, I don't think library school is out of the question for you. I joke, but am I really joking that I might be working for you someday? So yeah, I feel like we're never going to let you go. We love any aspect that you have with the library. So I did love that when you left the library, you went next door, and I still worked with you frequently just for the students. And as I like to say, try to trick them into reading. You were great. You were great with those students. You were great with your programs. I know you mentioned some of them. Like I remember when we played Quidditch in the middle of Bedford Library, or we did the zombie takeover. I mean, you did a ton of things, but I was thinking of some of my favorite programs with you, and all the cool things you did with the teens and the staff.
Yeah, those were always fun. I liked designing. It felt like each program was just designed as like one big board game for each night with challenges and opportunities for the kids to run around and, be really loud in a space where you
forbidden to be
are supposed to be loud in. But Marsha knows how to
bend the rules.
Up.
Take them in the attic, bend the rules. I was also thinking about the Yule Ball. You had some really good. I was thinking about your all your work in the Yule Ball. Those times we've done some great things there and your characters for that. So that's coming up again in December, the Yule Ball at the Bedford Branch. So yeah, there's a lot. We have a lot of history with programming and students and coworkers and just patrons. It was really great time. I miss you for sure.
Yeah, I miss being at the library. Best job I ever had.
I concur. So that's great. All right, Adrian. Now Adrian is one who has the burning questions for you. Now that we've got the serious, important stuff out of the way, what do you have?
What is your go-to karaoke song?
Ooh.
Oh, my go-to karaoke song. Well, I don't feel that I listen to. I feel like I know enough popular music, but I don't know the lyrics to a lot of it. So I would probably default to something more obscure that I do know. I listen to a lot of pop punk, specifically a band called the Wonder Years. my friends and I love singing along to, it's called the Living Room Song. And it's just this kind of celebration of just like friendship. And it is something that you can shout really easily. You don't actually have to sing to it. So that would probably be my top pick. I got married this past summer.
Yeah.
And the last song that we played for our guests was the Living Room Song. So just kind of got in a huddle and we're just shouting it into the woods.
Oh, I don't know that song. I'm tuning in. I don't know that song. I thought for sure you were going with Billy Joel.
I don't think probably anyone knows that song.
Well, I'm going to after today. That's funny. I like that. Yeah, I thought you were going to pick Billy Joel. I just told a story about you the other day because clearly I'm an annoying, monotonous whistler, as you know, Shane. I whistle and I don't even know I am. And I remember those mornings would be you and I early, and you would all of a sudden say, "Is that Billy Joel?" Like you would know the song I was whistling, and I didn't even know I was whistling. So now when I come in, I'm like, I think of you because it reminds me to try to be more aware of, I'm whistling in a library. That's very annoying.
No, I feel like I whistle all the time too. And I think it started I think I snuck up on my dad once accidentally. He like got surprised. He said, like, you need to whistle or something when you're coming so I know that you're there.
That's great.
And so I just whistle to make my presence known.
That's what I should whistle when I'm coming in. So like if people are talking about me, they know like, oh, she's coming. Shh, stop talking about her or something. All right, Adrian, the question, what do you got?
If you were going to compete in the Olympics, but you got to choose whatever mundane task or thing you could do, what would you take gold medal in?
What could I take gold medal in for the Olympics? That's a good question. I don't know if I'm good at anything well enough to get a gold medal in it. I think I could make bronze in maybe a few things. I feel like I could take gold medal, or I could get up there for maybe organizing books on a shelf. I like reorganizing things. I have my office library over here that I shuffle around a lot, and students frequently get disorganized. I'm trying to think of other obscure talents I have. I feel like
that's topical. You're talking to librarians. We love that about you. And I was just going to say, your classroom library at Bedford was extensive too.
Yeah,
you just mentioned this one. I'm like, that is a good one for you.
Yeah, I invested a lot in that classroom library, and then I was sad moving to the early college program because I don't have an official classroom anymore. I just have an office, and then I go to my various classrooms across campus. So I don't have a space for all of those books. A lot of them are just sitting in my garage.
Oh.
But other obscure, I memorized poetry for fun. Maybe I could probably get bronze in that. There are people that are definitely better at that than I am.
And you write poetry too, don't you? I feel like you write poetry too.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do. I think I managed to win the poetry prize for maybe not this past year, the year before, that Jen Saul.
Oh yeah, for the Bedford Library
poetry contest. Yeah.
Yep, every April that's coming up too. I mean, in the spring for Poetry Month, you can submit poems for all ages, and there are prizes. I thought you wrote poems as well. So.
No, I love poetry. My students have an ambivalent relationship with poetry, but I love it.
Well, that's why you need to keep introducing them to it. I think that's important.
Yeah.
If you were a professional wrestler, what would be your name and signature move?
My name and signature move. All right. This is a tough one. My name and signature move. The first thing that came to mind, which is probably like embarrassing to say on a podcast, was my annoying nickname that people gave me in high school, which was Shane the Brain. And so I feel like that would work for a professional wrestler name.
Why wasn't I using that? You could have a big giant, like Pinky in the Brain. You could have a big brain. Why have I been using it all these years? I'm gonna now, It
sounds so pretentious now. And my signature move would probably be the teacher stare to intimidate my opponent, I guess.
I was gonna say correct grammar, but your teacher move is good too.
And for our younger listeners, Marsha referenced Pinky in the Brain, which is from 1995.
Oh, snap. Yeah, well.
That was the year I was born.
Oh, okay. That's the year I graduated. So I graduated the year you were born. So that's perfect. Yeah, Pinky in the Brain. That's what I thought of. You could have a big brain and you could correct grammar, or the teacher stare is good too. I like that your high school nickname was Shane the Brain and mine was Marsha Klutz. So clearly, clearly I think you had the better high school nickname.
I think it was with just like a niche group of people. But yeah.
I like it. I like it. That's really funny. I had a good friend and he would always, we called him Encyclopedia Dave, which again, for the younger listeners, encyclopedias aren't around anymore either, but we called him Encyclopedia Dave too. He was valedictorian, obviously. And so we would call him that lovingly, and he always knew everything. So I like that you were Shane the Brain. I think it's a compliment. So that's funny.
We'll take
Where
it
did
that way.
Where did you guys get these coherent high school nicknames?
Unfortunately, you don't give them to yourselves, right, Shane? I'm pretty sure you didn't
No.
start calling me Shane the
I
Brain,
just-
right?
When I was in high school, people called me Vanilla Ice, and I did not understand that.
Well, I feel like we could unpack that
Yeah,
quite a bit.
that's a good one. Yeah. Now let's hear you bust a rap. Ice,
My
Baby.
my music hits me. So no, we're gonna get copyright struck. So
Oh, you're right. You're right. Copyright struck.
what is your spirit animal?
Oh, my spirit animal. I've always been fond of owls, certainly. So I think
Because they're
that
the wise old owl, Shane the Brain. It's perfect.
Yeah, he's
Otherwise,
leaning into this.
yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to stay consistent. I really like at the Toledo Zoo, one of my favorite things. I think the bridge is under construction now, but when you like go down the off ramp to get into like the far side of the zoo across the expressway, there's a little owl pen, and we always stop there. And I feel like owls are just very sassy. At least the one that lives there always has his back turned, or when he does decide to turn around to acknowledge guests, it is in a very judgmental fashion, and that energy resonates with me.
I love that. I love that. That's so fitting. That's so funny. I love it. What are you reading now? And I know you have an extensive library of your own, and you're a teacher, and you probably have to read all sorts of things. But what are some of what are you reading for pleasure, or what have you read recently?
Yeah, reading for pleasure. I mean, reading for not pleasure recently was research essays that my students turned in last week. Most recent book that I finished was The Other Americans by Layla Lalami, which I checked out at the library.
Yay.
Book. So next week, I'm starting a mystery novel unit with my students, and they're going to be organizing little book clubs around different texts that hopefully will be getting delivered this week. I put in a request very late.
Okay.
And so they're going to explore the mystery genre, and The Other Americans is one of the books that is going to be an option for them. It's kind of like a crime procedural, but also a romance, and of course, a little bit of mystery. It takes place in California, where one of the main characters, her father, was just killed in a hit and run accident. And they have kind of a history in the area. They immigrated, and there's some tension around their immigrant status and just the attitudes of the small town that they live in. And so she kind of comes back to deal with the aftermath of her father's death and come to terms with the different discrimination she faced, the different tensions that exist in the town. So it speaks a lot to like a need for diversity fiction, but also fits into the genre that I'm going for.
With a mystery. Yeah. I love that. We actually spoke on this via email prior to this because I am recently a part of the I Love a Mystery book club here at the Ellis Library and Reference Center that meets on the second Wednesday at 10 o'clock. And so when I mentioned I'm going downstairs to the I Love a Mystery book club, you're like, I'm starting a mystery unit genre. So how funny is that? Like I thought that was funny. So we've already kind of covered this a little bit before this. So I love that you're pleasure reading, but then now including that with your students and your course structure too.
It's good to read a book and be like, children should read this. So there are a few explicit scenes that I'm going to need to put like a trigger warning on for them. But these are early college students. They're preparing to be college students soon. So I think
you probably have a little more leeway there than angry parent phone calls that we sometimes get. I don't know. You can probably
I would
push the envelope a little bit farther. Who knows?
So asking for a friend.
Yeah.
If you were to come home and find a penguin in your freezer, it's still alive, it's perfectly healthy, what would you do?
Oh, well, I would recommend to your friend that one, the penguin should probably come out of the freezer. It's not going to last in there for long. And probably keep it in an enclosed space if you have one. Perhaps a bathtub could work. And if you have appropriate foods to feed it, make sure that it's nourished and comfortable. Yeah. And then I assume you would call animal control, right? Or your local zoo, or if you have a friend who is a penguin keeper, that could be an option as well.
Like
This-
Mr. Popper.
Yeah,
If you
the
know
image
Mr.
that
Popper.
you.
the image that popped into my
I
head.
appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, of course. So when I was assistant director for theater at Bedford, we put on the play The Man Who Came to Dinner. And a part of the play is that there's a shipment. For some reason, the man who's staying at these people's house has a shipment of penguins sent to him. And obviously we couldn't get real penguins, but we had this like box rigged so that when you open it, there were like inflatable penguins that popped out. But then toward the end of the play, we had a couple kids. Oh, no, wait, me and my co-director and a couple other production staff got in giant penguin costumes and ran across the stage at the end of the production.
I'm gonna need to see this. It makes me think of those shark dancers from the Super Bowl or whatever. Remember that, like the left shark? Or
Yeah.
whatever? You'll be like the left penguin. I'm gonna need to see footage of that.
I think it was recorded because it was around COVID, so I think we had a stream of it. Yeah.
That's funny. That is great. I love that you have a penguin story. What are the chances?
I'm finding connections to these questions. I'm so glad.
I love it. Yeah, you're making them personal, and you had no prior knowledge. I think your answers are great. I think a lot of people think, who knows? I don't think even Adrian knows what's going on in his mind, let alone our guests. So these are surprise questions.
Well, like I told you earlier, I was worried about the questions because I watched like the Christine Allen episode, and she was so quick with her answers, and I'm like, I can't do that.
But you are doing it. You are.
Okay.
Shane, the brain is coming through. Adrian, I was telling Shane before you joined us that I've been doing the Fast Five for you or preparing questions. And I was going to ask some, new library staff versus former library staff. I was going to have you guys like compete. But it's going to be kind of hard to have you like ring in or raise your hand. So maybe I'll just ask the same question to both of you. Everything does not have to be a competition with a winner, even though I like it to be.
Does now.
It's on like Donkey Kong. So yes.
Oh yeah, because I'm a loser and I am going to lose this.
Well, no, I don't know anything about the library. I haven't been there in 5 years. Well, I've been to the library, just not behind
All right,
the
well,
desk.
I'll start out nice and easy. And so should we just do Shane first and then Adrian, or are you just going to shout it over each other? How are we doing this? I'll go Shane first. Shane,
Okay.
How many branches of the Monroe County library system are there?
I think the answer to that is 16.
Reference librarian, is he correct?
I guess it depends on whether you want to count Domi, but
Right, or
16 in a Domi.
16 is true, yeah. And I also say, there's Bookmobile now and there's Outreach, so there's blurred lines, but 16 is the official answer. 16.
No, Blurred Lines is a song.
All right. Shane, what is our library website?
MyMCLS.com? No. Yes?
Adrian, is he right?
Wait, what was the question?
It's our library website.
Our library? Like the mymcls.com?
Yes. Yep. So you are correct, Shane. Good job. See, you thought you weren't going to know anything about the library. And
Well, I was thinking of like our email handles were like
yeah.
at mi.lib.us or whatever.
Yeah, you were even thinking more technical, your library lingo. I'm trying to keep these for the, listeners to enjoy, but also to see how you were doing. How many downloadable platforms do we offer? Do you still listen to those or no? Do you listen to ebooks or audiobooks?
I use Hoopla every once in a while and Libby. I prefer print books, so I definitely check those out a lot. I'm going to say you have at least 5. I don't know the exact number though.
Adrian, what are you going to say to that? What are you going with?
Okay, so we've got Libby, Hoopla, Canopy. So that's 3 that I can think of off the top of my head. The Woodlands downloadable, that's available through Loop.
Libby, I would count that as 1. I think that would be the answer. We'll say 3.5 or 4 if you count them separate, but that is the same one. Yeah, good job. See, and you also could be thinking of RB Digital, which we used to have. So
yeah, and I'm thinking also, you have so many great like research which aren't downloadables.
There's lots of those. There are lots of resources. So
yeah.
Okay, so this will be individualized, but Shane, I threw a few of them out there and you mentioned a couple. What was your favorite program that you did at the library? I threw a couple out because I was thinking of all my favorites with you, but what was your favorite?
Yeah, that's so hard to pick. There were so many, obviously there were a lot of unique Fandom Friday events. I know we had one, I think it was dinosaur themed, where we put a bunch of dinosaurs out in like the woods behind the Bedford Library, which if you haven't been back there, lots of great walking trails. And we let the kids kind of do a scavenger hunt. And I promise that we didn't lose any of those kids, even for a minute.
In the dark, after hours, at night. Oh yeah, that's like fun too.
It was summertime, so it was more like twilight.
I also
feel like there's
Nope.
I feel like there's a lawyer thing going on there. We didn't lose them. We knew where they were approximately.
They had to be somewhere in the woods behind the library.
Oh, that's funny. Well, I was thinking at the time when we did the zombie takeover and they used silly string to kill the zombies, only we found out afterwards that that was a huge mess. So we were like, I mean, it was fun for them, right? But
Yeah.
but the cleanup for the silly string was crazy. But that was also ingenious and very fun. Adrian, what has been your favorite library program that you have been in charge of or put on? What's your favorite?
My favorite library program? My favorite one is the one that Shane led.
What?
I meant one that you did. I was going to say your game nights because those are really fun. But what, I don't know. Do you have a favorite? Adrian does these really fun game nights. Oh, and Quizzical is super popular too. But Adrian does these fun game nights where people can bring their, like, some people are serious and they bring like their backpacks full of games, and you can bring any games, you can play any games. He has a bunch, he runs them. He's a very good and patient teacher.
Didn't Adrian, didn't you do a Dungeons and Dragons tutorial or something?
Oh,
Yes, we have Dungeons and Dragons on Mondays and Fridays now.
Nice.
and chess club. He does so many. Maybe he just couldn't pick any. I don't know. He does a lot. He has a lot of fun ones. I'm going with my game nights for you, Adrian, because those are very fun.
So
Jack of all trades.
my secret is that I hate leading any program.
Well,
I'm bad at it.
you are not. You're good at it. Stop that. All right, last
Stop.
one. Shane, who is your favorite in the library with Marsha and Adrian podcast guest?
My favorite podcast guest? Well, I haven't. So you mentioned that he was on the episode. I haven't actually watched this episode because I didn't know it existed. But Scott Earl, who I worked with at Bedford, was a great mentor to me, and I'm sure he was very upset that I left Bedford, but is a phenomenal English teacher and phenomenal guy. And so I'm going to go watch his episode. So I'm going to say he's my favorite guest, even though I have not watched the episode yet.
I love that. That is great. Yeah, he's one of my favorite people in the world. I'm going to send him your podcast when it's done too, and make sure he tunes into yours, but I'll send you the link to his too, unless you can find it. Adrian, who's your favorite podcast guest besides, we all know my mom's favorite is Adrian. She likes to tell me how funny he is. Adrian's really
podcast guests.
What's yours?
We're going to alienate all of our podcast guests. So it's all of them.
Yay. I like to tell people Adrian's my mom's favorite. She'll say like, oh, he's really funny. And I'm on there too, Mom. My own mother. My own mother prefers Adrian's antics. Adrian, do you have any more burning questions for Shane?
What's the weirdest thing you found under your couch cushions?
Weirdest thing I found under my couch cushions. I guess I need to go take a look because I can't remember in recent memory looking under my couch cushions.
It's still there.
But I feel like when I lived at home and we had a dog, probably like bones or various other random things that the dog chewed on that perhaps she shouldn't have would be my answer to that.
Okay.
That's a good one.
I've got just a couple more. Okay.
I'm so ready.
If your shoes listen to music, what would be their favorite genre of music?
Is it too easy to say shoegaze music?
Ooh, that's good.
Ooh.
Or
My
what
booty
else?
shoes.
So I'm looking at my shoes specifically. I am wearing dress shoes today because we have conferences, which is unusual for me to be wearing dress shoes. So I feel like they look like they listen to like smooth jazz or something.
What's your normal
Excellent.
shoe preference of choice when you're not a grown up doing conferences?
I wear hiking shoes usually, so either my boots or my trail running shoes. So they probably listen to like folk pop.
One last one. You ready? If you had to have a food-related superpower, what would be your food-related superpower?
Oh, my food-related superpower would probably be to have the ability to duplicate or replicate foods. So to take a food and to make more of it for, snacking or throwing a party or solving the world hunger crisis. I think there are a lot of applications for that.
The apocalypse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Never ending. That's a good one. Way to use your power for good, your food power for good.
His is so much more benevolent.
It is. I was thinking I would make it so that you could eat anything you wanted and not gain weight. That's my superfood power. Just eat it all and not
I was
gain
gonna
weight.
go with pizza laser.
How does a pizza laser work?
You shoot the laser from the pizza.
Here's a weapon.
Have a pizza on hand in order to use the superpower.
I mean, how is that any different than like the Green Lantern's ring? Come on.
It's so much easier to just carry around a pizza than wear a ring.
But think about it. Like if you can put the pizza on a bagel and then you can have the laser anytime.
And people would willingly get close to it, right? I mean, they're going to want to come see the pizza bagel.
And then when you're done fighting crime, you have a ready-made snack to nourish yourself with.
Everybody wins. Oh, I was going to say when you were talking about hiking and the trails in the library that Bedford is doing they have a trekkers club now that Jessica is doing. She's the new outreach and program specialist, and she is doing where they're walking through the trails and talking about books and stuff. So when you said that, I thought, they're utilizing those trails kind of as a book talk.
I would love to. I'm gonna join that.
I know. I thought it would be nice to do one here too, and like walk along the river or the river walk, because the river's so nice too. This is a really nice atmosphere.
Yeah.
But why don't you walk in the river?
I mean, we could. People are in waders in there all the time, fishing and walking. I guess we could bring your waders.
Mm-hmm.
That's a serious river walk. That's not just like a pretend river walk. It's a river walk.
I'll bring my cement shoes.
Any other programs? I did want to talk a little bit about, we have the Boy General in bronze, although I just remembered by the time you're listening to that just happened. So we have we have programs going on all the time up here at the Ellis Library and Reference Center, the Crochet Club, the Papercraft Club, the Civil War Roundtable, paging through the histories of the Civil War. We do have Jackie and Gary coming. I've talked about them before, Friday, November 3rd at 1:00. She was a member of the New Christie Minstrels, and they're so fun. They sing folk songs. Shane, your shoes would love them. They do. Actually, I think you know them. I think you remember Jackie and Gary from before. They came in on Sunday at Bedford. They do great songs and sing-alongs and folk music, and they're super interactive. So I've been telling everyone, all their Bedford following should come here to the Ellis Library and Reference Center and see them again. That is happening Friday, November 3rd at 1:00. What's that, Shane?
Sorry, you can repeat the time and date.
Oh yeah, Friday, November 3rd at 1:00. And you can just go to my MCLS.com. What were you gonna say?
I was just saying, I think I ran into them randomly. I was traveling somewhere else in the state. Maybe I was up in like Frankenmuth or something, and they were in a parking lot, like getting ready for a show.
That's wonderful. Yeah, they do travel all over. So he is a retired teacher, elementary teacher. She was, like I said, she was married, or she was part of the New Christie Minstrels. So they're performers, but they sort of are accustomed to schools and libraries. So they really gear themselves towards, they do children's programs too. This is kind of an adult folk program, but they really are geared. They're out there performing everywhere. They love it, man. They don't ever want to quit. So they're wonderful. I'm really excited to see them again. So I love that you saw them in a random parking lot performing.
I don't know if they were performing in the parking lot, but I definitely saw them at the parking lot.
I love that. Well, you can come see them here. Anything else? What about you, Shane? Is there anything else you want our listeners to know about, or anything you want to share about yourself or the library? Or
so last week, if you did not know, was Banned Books Week. And so for the past 5 weeks, my students have been engaged in a banned books unit. We've been reading banned books, and they've been writing essays on censorship. And libraries are definitely a core part of that topic and that issue. And so I appreciate everyone who's listening, who's supporting the library. And if you're listening and are for some reason not supporting the library, make sure that you go use your local library, because they do so many cool things.
Yay, I love that.
Every time people mention banned books, my brain immediately goes to like musical bands before the correct bands. Does anyone else have that problem?
Several of my teenage students had that problem because they were very confused when I introduced the topic to them. They thought we were going to read books about
Queen or whatever. Yeah, they're like, oh, great. Rolling Stones. I read that banned book.
I think they might have been disappointed by the reality, someone.
we have a really cool display here about banned books. They have caution tape over it and a lot of the ones, and so many of them, like you were like, why was that banned again? So there's little explanations on why and where it was banned and the reasoning. So Krista did a really great display here in our teen section about banned books. So
and that's the best way to get a teenager to read a book, is saying that somebody told you you're not allowed to have this.
I know. I feel like high school teachers should lead with that a little bit more, right? Like, you're not supposed to read this book. I mean, they're going to want to.
That was the best I could come up with.
We would like to thank you for joining us. And this has been In the Library with
Marsha
and Adrian and our special guest,
Shane.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.